Hey, happy Tuesday, Liberty lovers. This is your host for the day, John Odermatt. Probably surprised to hear from me on a Tuesday. I'm bringing you a very special bonus episode. For those of you who aren't familiar with our Lions of Liberty Pride format, we have a special show once a month that is produced, developed, researched, recommended by one of our Nittany level or higher Lions of Liberty Pride members. And this month is no different. Actually, this is November's episode. I waited to air it until today, December 1st, because the holiday, everything else, it just wasn't going to work out. So I want to thank our Lions of Liberty Pride Nittany level member, Zach Aziz, for reaching out to us and bringing us this great idea to speak with Grant Romundt, the CEO of an incredible startup called Ocean Builders, which I don't want to give away too much, but they have some very fast-moving and exciting things happening down in Panama, which they're making it available to live on the ocean in Panama, have the freedom that comes with that. A couple of different formats on a cruise ship, in a sea pod. So very cool stuff, and we'll get into all that with Grant. But before I do that, I do want to mention one thing. This is, like I said, it is fast moving, and there is an opportunity now to actually get involved and procure. Right now it's starting with the rooms on this cruise ship. They're calling it Crypto Cruise, and you can actually get a room. I think the auction ended, and they'll move into the next phase after that. And Lions of Liberty is partnering with Ocean Builders. We have an affiliate program with them. So if you want to visit our link at lionsofliberty.com/ocean, that'll take you right to the Ocean Builder site. When you click through there on the button on that page, you can check out the different options they have, learn all about Ocean Builders. I strongly recommend all of our listeners to do that. And yeah, that's it, guys. You're going to be hearing more about Ocean Builders, I'm sure, in the future. Very excited to bring this episode to you today with Ocean Builders CEO Grant Romundt. All right, my guest today is Grant Romundt. He is the CEO of Ocean Builders. He is an early adopter and innovator of new technology, and he had one of the most advanced mobile paperless offices in Canada in 1995. I definitely want to ask him about this next fact here. He lived in a tech frat house in San Francisco with one of the 6 co-founders of PayPal. He owns several businesses specializing in software development, video production, education, sales, and training. And his customers include many multi-billion-dollar multinational companies. For the past 4 years, he's been living in a floating home, and he is now bringing his experience to Ocean Builders, and that's what we're here to talk about with Grant today, about Seasteading, about Ocean Builders. Grant, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Right, well, great to have you here. And before we get into talking about Seasteading specifically and about Ocean Builders and everything that's going on there, I want to start with you and your personal philosophy and really how you got in this line of work in the first place in seasteading. But backtracking from that, just your philosophy, would you describe yourself as a libertarian, an anarchist, a mix of something else?
I've never really identified with the word anarchist, but I guess that kind of fits. I've always, like, my highest value has always been freedom. And whenever anyone would try to do anything to take that away from me, I would resist it. I would be like, I would go the other direction, or I would find my own way, or I'd find another way, or find a way around it to be able to have more freedom. And I think I'm one of the people that I don't think there's too many people in the world that I know that has more freedom than I have built into my life. So it's always been something that's been super important to me. And I pursued it at every turn I could take.
Is that something that you can pinpoint a time in your life or an experience or a book or something notable that happened that really influenced you down that path?
I think it's just part of my genetic makeup. It's always been important to me. And like in school, when I was, just in grade school, and the teachers were telling me what to do, like, you have to do your homework, you have to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, why? What is that going to do? Like, you're trying to tell me something, but there's no reason for me to do it. There's like, what's in it for me? Why would I do this? Like, I was questioning. It's like, well, this doesn't make sense to me. So, like, give me a reason. And no one really gave me any reasons other than you have to do this because this is the way it is. And I guess I was always questioning and not just accepting. And that kind of grew and grew and grew over the years. And about 22 years ago now, I heard about a project called Freedom Ship. And the project was about building a 1 mile long ship that was going to circumnavigate the world every 2 years and stop at different ports of call around the world. And I just loved that idea because I thought that would be the ultimate freedom. You could have your home, and your home went with you around the world. So you got to travel, you got to experience the freedom of that. And you would be like an international citizen. And I thought that was just incredible. The problem with that is that it was going to take about $6 billion to start the project. And that's just was such a large number especially back in those days, that it just had a hard time getting off the ground. But I loved the idea, so it just kind of stuck with me over the years and kind of went into the background. And then about 1.5 years ago, I was on a plane on my way to Acapulco, and there was a guy that was wearing the shirt talking about seasteading and floating homes. And I looked at the shirt and we started talking, and he was involved with my now business partners who were building these floating homes in Thailand. So when I saw what they were building, I thought this is incredible. And it was a home in international water. So it was 13 miles out from land. So I thought this is kind of like the Freedom Ship, but much more scalable, because we're just building these small little platforms about 5 meters wide, and was very inexpensive. And we could just build one. And if we could just build one and make it look, appealing to people, that maybe someone else would see it and say, well, I like that. I want one of those. And then you build one, and then you build another, and that turns into 3, that turns into 10, that turns into 50. And then all of a sudden you have a new frontier.
I think you've talked about sort of, there's different models with ocean builders. You have the, and you can elaborate more on this, of course, but you have the sea pods, which should be living in the ocean in a floating, in a flotation device of some sort, land pods, and then the cruise condos, the crypto cruise. Right. So how do all those fit together, and what, I guess, how close are each one to being rolled out and actually, something that somebody could purchase tomorrow?
Well, our sea pods are our main project that we're working on. And I was just at the factory earlier today. So we built an entire manufacturing plant. We started building it just before COVID started, and it's now pretty much complete, but it's complete enough that we've been able to actually start production about 1.5 months ago. We're a month away from having the plug made for our mold. And so how we're doing it is we're making the shape, which is called a plug, and then we're using that plug to make molds, and then using the molds to make the actual homes. Okay. So it's kind of a 3-step process. So the first step of that will be complete in about 2.5 weeks, and then we start making the molds. So we should have the first unit floating on the water sometime end of January.
And these are shallow water, or are they deep sea?
Yeah, these are shallow water models, about 1 kilometer away from land. And then when COVID started, we saw the effect of COVID on the cruise ship industry. And we thought, oh, no one's going to want to go on a cruise for a long time. The cruise ship industry is pretty much dead, and don't know when it's going to get any better. So there's a lot of cruise ship companies that were kind of in distress. And so we thought maybe this is an opportunity. What if we could pick up a cruise ship for a really good deal? So we put an initial bid in, and they went with another company. And then they came back to us about 3 weeks later and said, well, the ship came back up as available. So do you want to make another bid? So we thought, well, okay, well, we'll just throw them a low ball offer, like a really low ball offer, and see if they accept it. So we did. And 3 or 4 days later, they came back and said, congratulations, it's yours.
So was this bought sight unseen? Were you able to go and sort of, investigate and see, the working order of the ship and those types of things?
It already had a survey done on the ship, so we already had that in place. It had already been sold earlier in the year, I believe, but because of COVID, that sale got canceled.
Right.
So we were able to come in, and the ship was all ready to be sold and was going to be in use and service for, they were going to continue with another company. So it was going to be in service for many more years. And because of COVID, the new buyer backed out on the deal. So we got a fantastic offer.
I do want to come back to the Seapods, but to continue with the ship, with the crypto cruise. So there's rooms available right now for auction, correct?
Yes, we have rooms available for auction for the next 3 or 4 days. So it might still be available for day.
Yeah, I guess by the time this airs, it might be over. So we're recording this on Monday, the 23rd. So when is the end date? I guess is an easier way to say it.
The 28th.
The 28th. Okay.
Yeah, and then we're going to. We basically have so many people all over the world that love what we're doing, and they want to be involved in some way. So we wanted to give our closest followers the opportunity to get the best deal and be our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And so we said, okay, we don't know the true value of a cruise ship cabin because this is a new model that no one's really done before. So we thought, okay, well, we'll put them up for auction and see what happens. So we started the auction, and now after the auction closes, then we're going to do rentals for the units.
Okay. And what do you visualize this turning into? Is it going to be somewhere that people move full time? Will it be, do you think, more so people, taking months at a time, maybe sort of, long-term vacations, or what's your expectation around that?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people that have wanted to have a place where they can live in a crypto environment or blockchain environment. And there's been efforts around the world, but nothing's really happened for whatever reasons. And with the cruise ship, this gives us, I think, an unprecedented opportunity to make it, create the environment we want to live in, and the environment I think a lot of other people are very interested in. And the number one requirement of any business on the ship is that you have to take at least Bitcoin as payment. You can take anything else you want. You can take US dollars, you can take any other currency, fiat currency, you can take any other cryptocurrency, but you have to take at least Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And the reason we did that, we didn't say, okay, we'll have to take Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever, is we know if we say at least Bitcoin, then they're probably going to take more than that. And that's kind of also a symbolic thing that, like, this is the place for crypto, and it takes the first crypto that was ever, or first cryptocurrency that was ever created. And from there, I think other platforms other tokens and coins will be accepted. And we're using coin payments as our preferred payment processor for crypto. And I think when you add all the coins and tokens they accept, it's up to like almost 2,000.
Oh, wow.
So there's a huge variety, and you can pay in You can settle your debts however you want. So you can pay with cash or scan a QR code and make a payment.
And the ship will be stationed in international waters. Is that right?
The ship will be inside of the territorial waters of Panama.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
So
and the reason.
Okay, go ahead.
So we need to get food supplies on a regular basis. We need to have access to city services and fuel and all kinds of other resources. So it really made sense to put it someplace where we can have access to a big city. And then, if someone wants to be on the ship, most of the time they can be, but if they want to have a big city experience, go into town, go to a restaurant in town, or go tourism, do some tourism things that they can just be a 20 or 30-minute ride to shore, and they can do whatever they want in the city. We're also setting up some really neat things. We'll have a float plane business coming in. So you'll be able to get off the ship to the float plane, which is parked right beside the ship, and go direct and fly to tourist destinations around the country. So you don't even have to go to shore if you don't want to. You can fly direct to all these really cool destinations around the country and go to places you wouldn't even be able to go to as a normal tourist very easily.
That's very cool.
And you can pay with crypto.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you're then governed under the laws of Panama then. So what's the reason why Panama, or one of the reasons, or why Panama was chosen?
Panama is great for a number of reasons. One of the big reasons was that it's outside of the hurricane zone, and that's a huge bonus. If you're living on the water.
Panama never gets hit with hurricanes?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
So there's a band around the equator of the Earth, about, I think it's 700 or 900 kilometers wide. And it is because of how the Coriolis effect works around the Earth with the wind effect. You don't get hurricanes around the equator.
Interesting.
So we're in that band that does not get hurricanes. Now we got some bad weather from hurricanes further north, but it rained for several days.
Right.
It wasn't so bad. So that's a big reason. Panama also makes it really easy to become a resident and to get your residency. It's very inexpensive and very simple process. It's one of the easiest countries in the world to do that. They only tax you on local earned income. So if you have a job within Panama doing something inside of Panama, then you would pay taxes on that. But if you have a business that you run internationally for a digital nomad and you have an online business, then you don't pay taxes in Panama. So there's tax benefits. So it's got a lot of benefits going for it. It's the weather's beautiful. It's a beautiful country. It's warm year round, and I've always liked skipping winters. I've always believed that if you're good at geography, then there's no such thing as winter.
I could probably learn something from that. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so definitely not skipping winter here. But maybe eventually I'll be in Panama. We'll see if things continue on their current track in the U.S. Might have to get out. But I did read somewhere. I don't know if it was on. I don't think it was on your website. So I don't know if this is true or not. But you have the cruise ship. I heard that there was potential to bring in a barge of some kind, maybe to have that'd be next to the cruise ship with some manufacturing capabilities and other things.
Yes. So we have a lot of things we want to do. The cruise ship we weren't even thinking about this for many years. That was kind of more like an end goal, where you could eventually acquire a cruise ship, and then you have like a self-contained community. And we just got there a lot faster because of the opportunity that COVID brought to us. We would like to be able to produce our floating homes on an actual floating barge manufacturing plant, which could be parked beside the cruise ship. So our manufacturing plant that we have right now in Panama is on the Atlantic side, and the cruise ship will be on the Pacific side. So we'd like to have manufacturing on both coasts.
Okay, wow.
So the one on the Pacific side would be a floating barge.
Okay, now to go back to the sea pods for a little bit, because I mean, people listening, I'm going to encourage them to go to the website to check this out, which is oceanbuilders.com, and you can read about it and see about the sea pods and the cruise ship and the land pods and learn everything there. And I'll link to that on the show notes page as well. But just to give, so my audience can understand how these sea pods work. I mean, simple things like getting running water, going to the bathroom, if you want to get off the sea pod and go to shore to go shopping or something. How does all that work?
Okay, first I'll maybe explain how the shape, maybe some background on the shape, because it's a very unusual design. I kind of take it for granted now. It's just like normal for me, but a lot of people, when they see it for the first time, it's like, that doesn't make sense. How does that work?
Like a spaceship almost, a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like George Jetson on the water. Instead of in the clouds, it's on the water. So it's kind of this floating pod, and it's on top of a pole that goes into the water. And it gets its flotation because the pole goes actually pretty far into the water, which creates buoyancy. So if you put like styrofoam and put it in the water, it actually creates a ton of buoyancy. So we're not putting styrofoam in this case, but it's an empty, an air-filled tube that goes deep into the water. Then that creates a lot of lift, and that it creates enough lift where we can put our floating house on top of that pole, and then you have your house floating above the water by between 2.5 to 3 meters. And then at the very bottom of that, we have a very, very heavy weight, which is down below the water. If it's our deep water model, it's about 35 meters down. So we have maybe up to 100 tons of weight, and that holds it in place really steady, so it doesn't move at all. It's very, very stable. So you have the buoyancy from the spar, from the cylinder, and then you have the heavy weight at the bottom, which makes it very stable. So that's kind of how it works. And then we have it tied down with anchor lines so it doesn't float off. So how does all the water and everything work? We have a lot of design that's gone into it, a lot of research for toilets, something we scratched our heads about for a long time because we didn't want to have to deal with emptying black water tanks from toilet water,
right,
or toilet sewage. So we have an incinerator toilet, which basically turns everything that goes down the toilet into dust. So it's non-toxic, and we don't have to dump toxins into the water, which is important. And then for the showers, we have a system we heard about it about a year ago called the shower loop. And what that does is they realized, the inventors of the shower loop realized that 90% of the water that goes down the drain is totally clean water, and it's already warm. So why waste it? So we've built a system based on what they had that recycles 90% of the water that goes through the shower. So now instead of using 20 gallons of water to have a shower, we can use 2 gallons.
Wow.
And the longer you have a shower, the more you save. So it scales really nicely. So that's actually a very reasonable amount of water to use for a shower, for like a 20-minute long shower using like less than 2 gallons. That's very reasonable. And by recycling it, we're also reusing the hot water, so we don't have to spend as much on our heating bill because we're recycling a lot of it.
So how would the water be heated then in the first place?
We're developing we can do it through a couple of means. We'll either have gas-powered water heaters. Our preferred method is that we're working on developing is having some tubing on the roof that will be kind of coiled up around the coming from the center of the pod, and moving outwards as much. We'll go out as far as we need to generate enough heat to heat the water for the shower and for the hot water tanks and everything we need for the shower, for the whole water system. And then we may even be able to use that to generate some electricity as well. We're doing some experiments on that.
Then I assume it's all solar powered. It'll be a solar panel.
Yep, solar powered. And we are doing some experiments, like I said, on using the heating water and using the temperature differential between the hot water and the cold water from, the bottom of the water, bottom of the sea pod. So that has could be a couple hundred degrees temperature differential that we may be able to use to turn a turbine to generate some power. So we're looking at some innovative solutions.
That'd be fascinating. Wow. So let's talk about just living in general on a sea pod. What is that like on a day-to-day basis? Could a family live on a sea pod? Is it typically a single person or a couple, or what's the setup?
We've designed the system to be flexible. So the first home is going to be about 866 square feet. So that's big enough that's a nice size space for a single person or a couple. And then our living room could also be converted into, it could be built into a second bedroom as well. It would be a little bit small probably for a family, but for vacation rentals for a family, that could work. Right. In the future, we'll have larger models, but this will be the way we're going to be starting.
And then getting on and off of the sea pod, it's hard to tell, but by the way it looks, how do you get up to it?
There's a spiral staircase in the spar that goes from the water level up to the top. That's not in a lot of the renders, so people ask that question a lot.
Okay, and now to shift to we haven't talked about the land pods at all, which I think are really cool also. Essentially, it looks like a similar design to the sea pods in a way, similar layout, and they're raised up above the tree level. So what's the thought process there, and where would land pods go? What plans would you have for where to place them?
Well, kind of the interest came last summer. I was thinking, well, this design could work on land as well. That could be interesting, but it was kind of a distant thought. And then I was on a plane coming to Panama. As I was traveling back and forth between Toronto and here, and I was on a plane, and the guy sitting beside me, we started talking, and he actually owns one of the largest golf courses in Panama, and he was thinking about buying a 3D printer to 3D print homes for his property. So I thought, well, we have like the largest 3D printer in Central and South America, so why don't we try to do something? And then we started talking about designs and said, well, here's our design. He loved it. So the next week I flew up to visit him at his golf course and did some surveys, and the place is just stunning. It's 900 acres. And there's beautiful places all over Panama. What we really liked about putting land pods on land is that they only have a footprint of 1.6 meters. So you don't have to, normally when you build a home on land, you clear cut,
right? Like
take down the trees, you put up a parking lot, and then after the house is built, you may put a token plant or a small garden in. And with the land pods, you don't have to clear cut. You don't have to clear cut the trees and nature. It can coexist.
Right.
And one of the things I love about the sea pods is that when the original prototype that we had, which was in Thailand, about 13 miles offshore, people think that the ocean is filled with life, And when you're outside of the coastal area, there's not a lot of life in the water. It's more like a desert than anything else. So when we put the Seapod, the first prototype out there, there's nothing. There's a few jellyfish, and that was about it. There's no fish. There's really nothing to speak of. Within 2 months of the Seapod being in the water there, the first prototype, there was thousands and thousands of fish. I was scuba diving for a week in Thailand, and I saw more fish around the prototype than I did anywhere else in the main scuba diving sites in Thailand. So
that's just because there's a structure there. It gives them some, I don't know.
Yeah. They call it a fish aggregation device, which is basically anytime you put anything in the water, it creates shade, and fish kind of start to congregate around it. You'll have barnacles that start to grow on whatever's in the water, and then that becomes a whole ecosystem, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys have a lot going on at Ocean Builders. These all very fascinating. It'll be interesting to see how each of these scale. And I'm curious to get your sort of, when you look out into the future, a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, what do you see this growing into?
Well, I've been working with our architect to come up with like a vision, a master plan of where this can go, and came up with some pretty interesting designs, and that are, I think, very realistic. Like 6 months ago, I didn't think we would, or even a month and a half ago, I didn't think we would have a cruise ship.
Wow.
So, we were talking about it, but when we're planning for it, but it's another thing for it to actually happen. So we started designing, well, what would this community look like around the cruise ship? And so we have a design where we'd have the cruise ship, and then we'd start building modular pieces that can be added section by section. As there is demand, we could add a little walkway. We could add maybe a floating barge, like we're talking about, for building some more Seapods in that area. Then that could be connected to some office space we could build. It would be like on another barge, and that could just be built out step by step into a larger community. And we can do it as the demand is there. And we can build additional residential. We could build additional manufacturing sites. We could build office space. We can build agricultural space. So we have some plans to do something I think that can be pretty special in the world. And I'm kind of inspired by the model that I get from Venice. Hundreds of years ago, before Venice really existed, it was just swampland basically, and that evolved over time to be probably like one of the best known tourist attractions in the world, that people kind of always dream of going to Venice. And it's a huge tourist attraction that brings people from all over the world to see it. And I think this can kind of be like the Venice of the future. And I think it can be something very interesting. We're trying to design it as, I think it appeals to a lot of people. A lot of different demographics are interested in this. So we're right now mostly targeting the crypto blockchain kind of fields, because that's where I came from, and that's where my partners came from. So we figured, well, that's how we all got together. So maybe there's a lot of other people there that have the same goals. And building this out kind of gives us an opportunity to do something that no one's ever been able to do anywhere before, and to build a community where we can say we can experiment with all these different crypto systems. So we can have where you wake up in the morning, you go to the coffee shop on the cruise ship, and you can pay with Bitcoin. Then you can go and maybe get a green drink or a smoothie at the store next door and pay with Litecoin, and then go watch a movie at the theater and pay with Digibyte, and then go for lunch and pay with US dollars, and just do your whole day and just pay however you want to pay, and whatever currency you want to pay when. And we would like to have all the ownership of the different cabins also have the title on the blockchain. So you can buy and sell and trade down to the Satoshi level. You're part of the cabin.
Interesting.
And there's so much we can do with that. There's so many different avenues for exploration that we can play. We can have this sandbox where we can play, just experiment.
Yeah, it's really creating a city from scratch at sea. Really fascinating stuff. I'm curious, does Panama, does their government, is there any sort of restrictions or constraints that they would put on you, what you're able to do?
We're in communication with the Panama government a lot because we want to build something that's sustainable, that's going to they're almost like a partner. The whole world has kind of been devastated with, at least the tourism industry has been devastated in every country around the world. So what we're building is something that can bring potentially a lot of tourists to the country and create something that is quite unique. And Panama's kind of excited about, I think in a way they're almost more excited about this than we are, because we've met with them a lot and they see the potential that this could bring some really great things to the country. We're creating jobs locally, so they love that. And we're creating something that can bring a lot of interesting tourism to the country. We're looking at developing a lot of green tourism that is very good for the environment. We can have like under the floating barge area that we'll be developing, you'll be able to come out and plant coral and like learn how to scuba dive and plant coral at the same time. Like those are some of the ideas we're talking about, is actually developing having a lot of touch points with ecology built right into our system. So they really love that they have a mandate to promote green technology as well as blue ocean marine technology, and build the economy at the same time. So we're kind of checking a lot of boxes with them. So we have a very good relationship with them. We're trying to keep that relationship good. So we have a lot of meetings with them, and so far so good. We have they've offered us like a concierge service, which is really interesting. Normally, if you want to get anything done in government, you have to talk to different departments and different ministries. So we have one point of contact with Panama government that just kind of handles all the other departments for us. So that's how much they love this project. They're trying to make it easy for us to make things happen. So if we say, well, there's these restrictions that make it hard for us to make things happen. So, is there any way that we can, find an exemption, or if is there any way to get these two ministries talking so we could find a way to make this happen? And so they're really trying to work with us to make this happen, because they see that this could be this project. I think they see our vision of this project where we could make this something really interesting.
Well, I mean, it's the way that you've laid it out. It's hard not to see the vision. It kind of, it's like you said, it's kind of in the past, 2 months here, getting the cruise ship. I guess it's happened pretty quickly for you, but even just, myself, looking through the website and reading articles, you do start to see that vision right away. So I think it's something in that way. It sort of almost sells itself. It's so persuasive in the visuals that you see. It's really fascinating. But before I do let you go, though, Grant, I do want you to just share with my audience. I mean, number one, if they do want to be a part of this, how do they do that? Any other ways that they can get involved?
There's lots of ways to get involved. I think this is like just about one of the most exciting things happening on the planet. I really believe that this is kind of like the new frontier, and this is like discovering America all over again. This is like, and I think when there is a new frontier, that creates the opportunity for a massive amount of innovation and That can be innovation in the blockchain space and technological innovation just for living on the water. You have a philosophy of the oceans first and Mars later, because there's no point in going to Mars when we have like 72% of the Earth is this incredible blue ocean that we can turn into a beautiful living space. So we're always trying to do a call to action to people to come out and join us and come start something on the frontier and be a part of it. If you are complaining about the way the world is and you don't like it, well, we stopped complaining. We just started doing. We started working on building solutions, and we're interested in having even our competitors come out and work alongside us. We have a lot of the infrastructure; it's already ready to go. A lot of the technology we're developing to live on the water is open source that we're putting out in the open source community. So it's like, if you think you can do something better, or if you'd like to work with us, come on out and participate, or come out and live on the crypto cruise ship and design the life and the future you want to live in. Like, be proactive and do something. So you can reach out to us on oceanbuilders.com. We have lots of ways to contact us on the website, on social media as well. So we'd love to hear from people that want to participate, get involved, buy a cruise ship cabin, buy a sea pod, or come out and volunteer in our incubator, and help us make this happen.
Very cool, Grant. Thank you so much for your time today. And, I'm sure you'll be a very busy man. I'm sure you are already, but in the coming months and years. Good to get to speak with you.
Okay, great speaking with you.
All right, that is it for the show today. I just want to quickly thank Grant Romundt for giving us his time today and sharing with our listeners, with all of you out there, about Ocean Builders. It's very exciting and, like I said, fast-moving startup that I feel very strongly that it is going to make a huge impact and really disrupt the world. I'm excited to see it play out, and I'm excited to see how many of our listeners take advantage of it. So if you want to look into this opportunity, if you're really thinking that this is something that could be for you, or even if you just want to peruse the website, I want to encourage you to go to lionsofliberty.com/ocean and check it out. All right, with that said, I don't want to take any more of your time today. I want to thank you all for listening. This is John Odermatt signing off. Always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.